Welcome to the Scottish Rite Journal podcast, an audio presentation of the Scottish Rite Journal, brought to you by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. This week's article is The Master Mason's Wife and Daughter's Degree by Michael E. Howard, 32nd degree, and comes from the July-August 2022 issue of the Scottish Rite Journal. It is the old Wild West, the Mississippi wilderness in the early 1800s. A lone rider, picking his way through the tangled forest byways, stumbles upon a rude cabin with a young woman sitting on the porch, her head in her hands. He begs forgiveness for disturbing her, but explains that he is lost and that it was of the utmost importance that he reach the French settlement on the Mississippi without delay. The lady's husband recently had died, and, after waiting days for a chance traveler to assist her, she had been obliged to bury him herself, she explained, nodding to the 6-foot patch of newly turned earth at her feet in front of the porch steps. It was the best she could do, alone and unaided. Their horse had strayed or been stolen, and the idea of attempting to reach another haven on foot was out of the question. She had resolved to perish by the side of her devoted husband rather than attempt it. Then, just as the rider was applying his spurs to his mount's flanks, the lady raised her hands from her sides in a motion that was familiar to him, and uttered a word that fell upon his ear with an eloquence too powerful to be resisted. He halted, and with surprise as well as inquisitiveness, looked at the widow, then at the cabin, the forest encircling the cabin, and the hastily dug shallow grave. Dismounting, he listened to her misfortunes till his heart melted to tears, and his purse opened to the alleviation of her distress. Leaving her with half his rations, he pursued his journey, promising to return. She was subsequently cared for and, in due time, arrived safely at her father's house in North Carolina. This tale, entitled Masonic Charity to Females, was recounted in the Masonic Token, written as an annual offering or gift book for Masons and their families, edited by William T. Anderson, 32nd degree, and published in 1868 in New York by the Masonic Publishing Company. The content is monitorial and, while it scrupulously avoids revealing esoteric subject matter more appropriate to the tiled recesses of a duly constituted lodge, it successfully reinforces the good opinion held for the institution by the uninitiated, while reaffirming its timeless lessons for initiates. The signs and word alluded to in this particular story are undoubtedly from the Master Mason's Wife and Daughter's Degree, or Degree of the Holy Virgin. This degree was not the first, nor last, Masonic rite established to confer a form of Masonic light upon members of the fairer sex. Adoptive, androgynous, or co-Masonic lodges accepting female candidates for the mysteries of Freemasonry flourished in France in the late 1700s, spreading to Germany, the Netherlands, Poland, and Russia. Lodges conferred degrees such as female apprentice, craftswoman, mistress, perfect mason/mistress. Few have withstood the test of time, their ceremonies, mysteries, and rites shrouded in mystery or lost forever. The Master Mason's Wife and Daughter's Degree was something different and, as far as I can tell, uniquely American. Unlike its continental predecessors, this degree was not organized as a charitable social club or philosophic sorority. It did not ape Masonic formats, elect officers to ascend various chairs, build lodges or temples, indulge in flamboyant pageantry, or create the multiplicity of higher degrees. As originally conceived, it was first and foremost a method by which a Master Mason's wife, widow, mother, daughter, or sister could make herself known to a stranger tied to her only by the craft and reasonably expect succor. America circa 1800 was decidedly rural. The earliest reference I have found for this unique degree, the Masonic Token, cites a French settlement on the Mississippi River, indicating that it was well established in the American West by 1803, the date of the Louisiana Purchase. One can picture a Master Mason conferring the degree on his female charge in a rough log cabin lit by candles, oil lamps, or lantern. The ceremony was simple, sober, somber, yet simultaneously reassuring, soothing, and inspiring. Heavily based upon the New Testament, specifically the Gospel of John, the degrees conveyed secrets, signs, words, and tokens suitable to a female's use. A feminine sign of refusal, a feminine gesture, an embroidered handkerchief, and a biblical intonation. The man of the house could risk the unknown, knowing he had left his womenfolk a lifeline. Enter M.W. William Lee, P.G. M.G.L., Alabama, who in 1851 published the Master Mason's Wife and Daughter's Degree, or the Degree of the Holy Virgin Hieroglyphic Monitor, incorporating investigation, circumambulations, oaths of secrecy, lectures, signs, words of alarm, and signs of distress and tokens of obligation. Lee's hieroglyphic monitor padded a simple log cabin expedients with ceremonies blending continental co-masonry with York Rite symbolism. The degree was to be conferred in a council of 3 or more Master Masons assisted, or not, by female adherents. No dues were collected, treasury maintained, officers elected, nor minutes kept. In 1855, Robert Morris introduced his American adoptive rite with 5 degrees: Jephthah's daughter or the daughter's degree, Ruth or the widow's degree, Esther or the wife's degree, Martha or the sister's degree, and Electa or the Christian martyr's degree, the whole assemblage of degrees to be called the Order of the Eastern Star. By then, the West had pushed to the Pacific and railroads connected settlements. A widow no longer needed to apply to accidental strangers when she could simply apply to the nearest lodge. The Master Mason's Wife and Daughter's Degree would recede into Masonic history as an interesting case of female participation in Freemasonry. Any accompanying photographs or citations for this article can be found in the corresponding print edition. The Scottish Rite Journal is published by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. Mark Dreisenstock, 32nd degree, KCCH, Managing Editor. I'm your host, Matt Bowers.